So today is Epilepsy Awareness Day, Purple Day. So this is a look I've just done on Facebook, and I thought I'd come on and tell you about my epilepsy story. So I was diagnosed with epilepsy at 15 months old due to eye rolling, absent seizures, like blank look. My mum was a health visitor, so not forced, but she kept pestering the doctor and saying there's something not right. And for months, nearly a year, he was like, "You're just an overprotective first time mother," because obviously she knew. So eventually at 15 months, I got diagnosed. I grew up remembering hearing my mum say, "Stop staring, Olivia, stop staring, stop staring, stop staring." And I was like, "I'm not." She's like, "You are." And it was only when I saw a consultant after I had my first big seizures. It happened whilst I was with the consultant. My mum was like, "Stop staring." It's like, "She's not staring. She's having a seizure." And at that point, my mum was just like, "I've told you all her childhood that she was staring." He's like, "No. If you've seen her doing that, she's having a seizure." So, fast forward to when I was 15, a month before my 16th birthday, and I had my first grand mal, or now they call it tonic-clonic seizure, which is basically the ones you see when they show you on TV, on tapes, whatever, a seizure. Even though there's 42 types of seizures, I'm not going to say the famous one, but where the whole body goes into spasms. My first one was at 15. I don't remember much about it at all. I know that my dad called me for tea. My mum was out. We were having a late chippy tea on a Friday. Children in Need was on. And because I have photosensitive epilepsy, as well as myoclonic juvenile epilepsy, my eyes got drawn into the TV because in those days we didn't have remotes. And then I don't remember anything until we got to the hospital. My mum and then boyfriend, the guy she was having an affair with, whatever you want to call him, turned up at the hospital. So my brother and sister had to go to neighbours' houses while my dad came to the hospital with me. Apparently I had to be resuscitated in the ambulance. My lips were blue. Again, if you've ever had the seizure, you know that you don't remember squiddly pop. You can't control your body, especially if it's a tonic-clonic. Excuse me, I've got a bit of a hay fever at the moment. Especially if it's a tonic-clonic, you've got no chance in hell. So, kind of that was that. Didn't have one for years. The next big one that I remember of a hospital admission was when I was 22. So I'd had ones between this, and we were going out for a meal in the centre to one hospital, went back to the original hospital. 4 hours later, getting nearer and nearer to the epicenter of the seizure, if you like. Like I'm lucky, I get warnings. So I was we knew it was going to happen. And the warnings can stretch from 5-10 minutes to, at this point, a couple of hours, which hasn't been like that since, trust me. So we eventually got to the first hospital that we'd actually been to that evening. And they got me into a bed, but my dad was in the car on the way over from the other hospital. and my dad arrived, and I'd got, this is the hospital bed, so my head was here, at this side here. The hospital shoes were on that side. Instead of me getting out that side of bed, because why would I got out this side of bed to walk around to my hospital, to put my shoes on to go to the toilet. And the toilet was just like out here, so I could see the toilet from my bed. Apparently I got to end at bed and started having a seizure. So I was stood up like that. And again, if you've had a seizure, a tonic-clonic, you know that your body, people expect it to go like flimsy. It doesn't, it goes rigid as. So I fell right back and bumped my head on hospital floor. Now I can tell you, those hospital floors aren't padded. Dad turned up to me having a seizure on the floor, and the nurse saying, "That's not a seizure." And I was like, "Yeah, it is. It's my daughter, I know. Not a seizure I've ever seen before." And I was like, "You need to get trained up then." So anyway, there's no point arguing, I'm having a seizure. That's it. So then my dad went home, tried sleeping. He came back the next day, further back. And I went, I'd literally just come round. And I was like, "Can I go home now?" And he's like, "No." Like, "Why not? After your performance last night, you ain't going nowhere now." "When you mean my performance?" He's like, "Just rest, just rest. I'll sit here, just you rest." He's like, "I'm going to wait for the doctor to come round." I'm like, "What's going on?" And he's like, "There's nothing for you to worry about." I was like normally, when I've been in the past, I go home the next day for all my obs are sorted and stuff. And he's like, I was like, my dad's not obviously medically trained at all. He's like, "You ain't going nowhere." I was like, What? So yeah, that was that. And I was like, "Dad, I need to tell you something." And he's like, "What?" "I've got a buzzing behind my ear." It was this ear. And he's like, "What kind of buzzing?" I'm like, "Really loud. Can you hear it?" And he's like, "I don't know what you're on about." I'm like, "Put your ear to my ear." And he's like, "No, I can't hear anything." And I'm like, "You've got to." And because it was that loud for me, I couldn't then perceive why he couldn't hear it. So I was like, but you can." And he's like, "I can't." And my memory had gone. So this is how bad the bang to the head was. My memory had gone. I couldn't remember anything past 20 minutes. So for 20 minutes, whoever came in would be like, "Put your ear to my ear and see if you can hear a buzzing." Or I'd ask loads of questions. And in 20 minutes, I'd ask the same questions. And once this happened, like more than once, my mum and dad were like, "This isn't just a seizure. This is like a brain injury and a seizure." Because even now, once I've had enough sleep after a seizure, I'm right as rain. It's like a reset button for me. So I was like, so the next day, my dad, "Can we go home now?" And he's like, "No." I'm like, "What's going on?" And my dad's like, "We don't know. They need to do tests, they need to do scans, they need to do x-rays." We haven't a clue. So eventually I got told that blood clots and a bleed on the brain. Which obviously, since my first seizure, I've stopped breathing. Then this one, I've got a bleed on the brain. So I was like, but obviously then I forget 20 minutes later. And then when we had the checkup, when I came out of hospital, so I was in there for 10 days. Before they let me out, I had to show that I could pour a cup of tea and I could butter toast. But realistically, looking back at it now, I should have stayed in for longer. I didn't know what was going on, truth be told. And I think the only reason they let me go is because my mum was off sick at that time with her thyroid, and so I went and stayed with her for 2 weeks. So overall, 3 weeks, and I still wasn't right after staying with my mum. I like literally slept all night and slept the majority of the day. I knew exactly when 4 hours was up for painkillers. And now look at me, I live on chuffing painkillers. But that's by the by. So then I was like, right, so now what? So me and my mum had an appointment at Northern General, which is not the hospital I was treated in, but the hospital we were sent to A&E to. And they showed me my mum the scan. I was like, Mum, what's that big dark patch on my brain? And she's like, just don't worry about it. Well, I want to know what it is. She's like, that's how much bleeding on the brain you had. And I'm like, probably I just went white. I just went, am I going to be okay? She was like, yeah, we'll make sure. And then in September, I think it was, 2009, so this was all 2009, we went to see my consultant and he showed us the scan. So I had the head injury in the June. And he went, I didn't pick it up, the radiographer picked it up. I was like, picked what up? And he was like, you've got a hairline fracture to the skull. Now at this age I was 23 at the end of that year. So I was 22 when all this happened. And I'm like, what? Because a fracture to me at that time was a part, operation, you name it. And I was like, so what does that mean now? Have I got to have an operation? And it's like, it's a hairline fracture to your skull. So we're hoping that like it should fuse back together on its own. And I was like, okay, what if it doesn't? Because it's there, or was there. And he's like, if it doesn't, it will have to be an operation. But I'm like, that means I'm going to have a scar and you're going to have to shave my hair. He's like, we'd have to shave a bit of your hair, yeah, and yeah, you would have a scar. And I'm like, no. My pride and joy still is my hair to this day, even though it's short now. And I was like, no, Bob, darling. I'm like, what I expect my mum to do. And she was just like, if that needs to happen, that needs to happen, Liv. But and luckily, all the way through this journey, touching wood, and I didn't have to have an operation. It did fuse back together. But I was off for it for like 3.5 months, and then to have a phased return. So my phased return started beginning of October. So it were tough. It were hard. Not gonna lie. And then 2014, my epilepsy took a dive. I started with anxiety. And anxiety and epilepsy do not mix. So I went from having like 4 seizures a year on the medication I was on to 4 a month. And so many appointments with consultants, with doctors, and they were like, we're going to have to change your medication. I'm like, no, I don't like change at all. And I'd been on that medication. How old was I in 2014? So I'd have been 96, 2006. So I'd been 28. So I'm like, no. But yeah, they changed it from what I'd been on all that time. So like nearly 10 years onto a new one, but it's not just as simple as swapping it over, because that's where you risk everything. So I had to decrease one medication. It said the lamotrigine I was on, I had to decrease that. So decrease and then increase the Keppra, which was the new one. So I had 2 lots of epilepsy medications in my system. Was not great. So I had 2 lots of side effects. Now my side effects with the lamotrigine that I was originally on was like stomach, feeling sick, nausea. This one, I didn't know what it was. The combination of the two was dizziness, not being able to walk properly, blurred vision. So at this point I lived on my own with stairs. So I'd have to bottom shuffle down the stairs, crawl along the kitchen floor, pull myself up on surfaces, lean against the surfaces to butter bread, to then put it on a plate and slide it along the doctor's floor, not the doctor's, the kitchen floor, down the step into the lounge to then eat it, or have cereal bars in bed. That was my life for years. For like, because these tablets would then wear off at 2 o'clock in after, or the side effects would wear off at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. I'm like, yeah, I could get up. So as well as battling that, I had anxiety beyond belief, to the point of I couldn't leave the house because I was scared of leaving the house. So dramatic. But then, so far, touch wood, the medication I'm on's working at the moment. I mean, we have to increase it now and again, so I'm on 1,000 milligrams twice a day. But 2016, so September 2016, I had, what do you call it? I had another episode. One seizure started, and I normally only have one. Then we went into the second. So I was at my, obviously now ex-boyfriend's house. I was on his sofa. And I phoned my dad, and I was just like, I've got the door, I've managed somehow hook or by crook to get the door open, because it was a buzzing system. I'm like, come in. And he arrived as I was having the first seizure. Like I have warning, so I can get, like, there's plenty of protocol, and we have like a system. And I got my dad involved. He took the day off work, which my dad's always more than happy to do. Took the day off work, and he was just like, right, okay, what do you need me to do? I'm like, I need you to email this person, because I was on a training course at this time, so I can't come in. My dad's like, right. And then I was like, so it's like, I've done that. Now what? And I was like, I've got a feeling another one's coming. He's like, another what? I'm like, a seizure. And he was like, what? This. And he's like, if we took all your like emergency tablets to like stop it. And I was like, yeah. But I think I might have been too late for the first seizure, but I'm hoping it's going to stop the second one. So my dad's like, fingers crossed. The second one came, the third one came, and he's like, these medications ain't stopping jack shit. So my dad's like, right, I'm going to phone an ambulance. I was like, oh, you're in a hospital. Because the last time I've been to hospital before this was when I had the head injury. And I was in for 10 days. So I was just like, I can't go training course, I need to go to it. Right, you ain't going on no training course, tomorrow. Scrap that idea. Get out of your head that you ain't going nowhere, you're coming back home. So I'm like, and then I was like, okay. And this time I actually remember ambulance coming. I don't remember a trip to hospital at all. And I had another one in ambulance. And by this time my sister was working at the hospital with the A&E. So my dad had said, I'm on the way to hospital with Olivia. Well, Olivia's on the way to hospital. We're getting taken to A&E. And this was before my sister had got married. I think she's not long been engaged. So they'd only just started planning the wedding. So I was sat in A&E and they'd given me 2 lots of, I don't know what, to stop the 6th seizure. So this is, they're just going like 10 to a dozen. So my sister sat talking to me in A&E for hours apparently. I remember, the one thing I do remember is like, at least you know how to behave when there's a fit junior doctor about. I'm like, what? She was like, Ollie's the most gorgeous one at lot, and you actually behaved yourself. And I was like, did I? I don't know. She was like, you were that jucked up to eyeballs. And I was like, okay, cool. And she, when I came out, she was like, do you remember me talking to you about my wedding? No. Do you remember me being there? I'm like, I remember hearing your voice, I don't remember seeing you. And she's like, yeah, you were. So that time I think I was in for 48 hours. Because I wanted to do, because I'd had so many, and it's like unusual for me. I mean, it's not unusual for some people with epilepsy to have that many in a go, that many in a day. Some people could have 20 a day. So when it comes to my epilepsy, I know I'm extremely lucky, but sometimes I don't feel it. So they wanted to keep me in to like check if I was, the reason I was having so many seizures, iodine infection, and something happened with the head injury I had before. Was there some underlying issue? So I had to have brain scans, chest scans, you name it, I had it. I was hooked up to a heart monitor. Bloods were done the lot. Like my mum, I remember my mum and my sister and my brother-in-law just got back from Italy. So, and my mum was like, oh my God, this is the time, because why she had that many? Why is there not an explanation? So my mum wrote me letters, which I still have to this day, and brought me stuff in. And I remember that time coming out of hospital, came out and I was just so happy to come out. And I literally had to have 24-hour surveillance for a week. Like someone had to be around me constantly. So I went to my dad's hockey match. So that was on a Saturday. And then I went and had the day with my mum on a Sunday, and then my dad came back because he was still with his girlfriend. And then that week, even though my then boyfriend was unable to do stuff, we kind of knew I'd be alright, but I needed to be watched. So I was around him all week. Thankfully, nothing else happened, and I was just like, but yeah. And I know I say all this, and I speak of it as it's all matter of fact, and just like, I'm saying it like I'm reading a story. But this has been my life. This is just, I am saying it as a matter of fact because I know no other. I try not to get it suddenly just But this has been my life for like, I don't know, 33 years. And yeah, I don't like it. I mean, trust me, my dad, he's not medical trained. And he has been the one that's dealt with my epilepsy because my mum, I don't think she wants to admit to it, whatever reasons, and she has her reasons, I'm sure. But my dad has been the one that's kind of knuckled by me for it all. My dad's been the one that's cleared up sick because he's had to deal with it, and you can't control your body fluids, luckily. To my knowledge, I've never actually bladder lost control or bowel, but he's had to listen to me. He's had to literally, the routine we have set between me and my dad is, obviously now he's lived with me, so it's not a bigger issue. The second I realise it's happening, I contact him. Normally I can't text, so I just have to ring him, because by the time I've realised my hands are like this, or if I just say Epo Day in a message, then he knows that he needs to come pronto. And I have a fan on next to my bed. I have the radio on. And I have my teddy, which has been with me for the past 20 odd years. I have all those things. And I go on the rampage. I get worked up. My dad's like, if you get yourself worked up, the seizure's going to be worse if these tablets don't stop it. And I always say, why does this, when I was working, why does this always happen to me? Why can't it happen to someone who doesn't want a normal life, who doesn't want this, who doesn't want that? My dad's like, I can't answer that question for you. Now, sometimes epilepsy is hereditary. With me, it's not. No one knows why. The ifs, the buts, the maybes. No one knows. I want answers, trust me. I definitely want answers. No one knows. Like, I was born elbow first. Could that be a reason? Never gonna know. It's had to be a matter of accepting. It's had to be a case of, this is what it is. We can't do anything about it. But on the other hand, would I change it? Yes, I would change it, because who doesn't want a normal life? But on the other hand, no, I wouldn't, because it has made me the strong, stubborn Yorkshire biatch that I am today. I mean, I definitely don't enjoy it. I definitely would love to change it. But having the epilepsy, having the narrow fibro, having X, Y, Z has got me to who I am today, has made me be like, okay, well, this is this. This is what we're contending with. Just going to have to face it. And it's made me stronger. Yes, I've had barriers in the way. Yes, I can't do certain things. But everyone has something in life that they'd rather be doing, or someone they'd rather be. And yeah, in my early 20s, late teens, I was in denial. Did any of my friends know at school I had epilepsy? Nope. Did anyone at college know? Nope. Did people at my work know? Yeah, they had to, because my manager knew. And that's when my seizures started getting more rapid. Do I work now? No. Did I have to stop because of my health? My anxiety started setting off my epilepsy. And that started the downfall of me working. Simple as. I think it was my anxiety. I collapsed at a bus stop in 2013. October 2013, my dad was away and I collapsed at a bus stop. I don't know why. I had loads of tests done. I had like 6 months of tests done. I had 24-hour heart monitor on. I had the tilt table test, Google tilt table test. It's like sadistic bastards I was. The whole lot. First they thought it was my epilepsy, then they said it was my anxiety. But like literally, it was crazy. And that, my anxiety, and every time I'd get to work, because my dad would take me in, and I'd last an hour and a half. And then my dad would have to come and pick me up because I'd go dizzy. And I worked with children, so I couldn't risk anything. And every time I tried to go back to work, it'd happen. No fail. So I had to go and see an occupational therapist through work. I had to do this, I had to do that. And in the end, I think they'd kept my job open for like 8 months. And then in the end, they were just like, we can't keep it open no more. Nothing's working. And that was it. Beginning of 2014, I lost my job. And because my epilepsy just went 10 to a dozen, because it was set off by anxiety and stress. And I loved that job. I was a nursery assistant. What can I do? You know what I can do. And yeah, do I wish I was still working there? Well, the nursery's not there anymore, but I wish things were different. I loved my independence. Even after that, then be clattered with fibro. And I've had to accept that that's different. But I will talk about that more on Fibro Awareness Day, week, month. But yeah, if anyone has any questions about epilepsy or my story or anything, please message me or comment. And I'm more than happy to answer any questions. Happy People Day!